Hello and welcome to the Summon, the African Summon, where we connect you to Africa and African culture. We are glad you could join us for our read of chapter 10. Be sure to invite your friends, your neighbors, your loved ones, and have them join us at the fireside. While you're at it, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like our videos, and share. Welcome. Chapter 10, Massa George. Elate had not fared so well in the plantation. After 3 years, he was still a laborer, although he had changed jobs several times. He had started off as a water boy under his kinsman, Enambong. But when Enambong was transferred to another camp a year later, Elate joined the regular gang of grasscutters. This was the lowest and meanest job as a laborer. Elate worked here for about 6 months and then he was transferred to the job of a caretaker. One of the assistant managers had been recalled home, so his house, one of the houses on the Beaver Hills, became vacant. It was the job of the caretaker to see that the compound was kept clean and tidy, the lawn kept low, the hedges trimmed, the rooms aired and dusted, so that when the next white man came, the house might still be habitable. This job was not as strenuous as grass cutting. Besides, there were many fruits in the orchard, so that every afternoon Elate brought home a rich harvest of pears, pineapples, mangoes, oranges, and other delicious fruits. He liked this job very much, but like all good things, it was short-lived. 3 months later, it was announced that a new white man was coming from home and that he would occupy the vacant house. Elate's next job was that of a watchman in the main warehouse at Beaver. He did not like this job at all and wondered how he came to be offered it in the first place. It happened that many caretakers used to take advantage of the fact that they worked unsupervised, and so they used to pinch such things as plates, cutlery, tumblers, and other petty items from the houses under their charge. This was always discovered when the inventory of the things in the house was checked before the new occupant moved in. If more important things like blankets and sheets and Aladdin lamps were missing, the caretaker was usually dismissed. It was found that nothing was missing during Elate's period of work, which was remarkable indeed. That was why the authorities decided to send him to the warehouse as a watchman. But Elate did not know this, of course. A watchman's job was physically the most comfortable laborer's job because all a watchman did was open and close the main gates, allow in lorries and persons authorized to enter the warehouse, or run little errands here and there in the warehouse. There were 3 watchmen in all, and they worked in shifts. The morning shift was 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. The afternoon shift was 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. And the evening shift was 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. Each watchman worked in one of the shifts for a week and then changed to the next shift. There was little or nothing to do during the afternoon or night shifts. But in spite of this, Elate did not like the job because he had heard terrible stories of how a watchman was attacked by thieves at night and was almost killed. The thieves had come to steal motor tires, and when they were challenged by the watchman, they attacked him. There were other bad aspects of the job which Elate did not yet know, but was to discover later. I am telling you that I shall leave this job. I simply don't like it, Elate was complaining to his wife. But what will you do, Father of Mbamu? Wait a bit. Try it first, and if you don't like it, you can complain later. After all, since when have we ever had an easy life? Yes, but having a difficult life is better than having no life at all. Didn't you hear how a certain watchman was almost killed at Tole? But will you be so foolish as to attack thieves? Surely, if you see thieves, you should run and hide. Father of Mbamu, Don't you know that we are no longer only two of us? If you leave work, what will we do with your children? This remark certainly touched Elate. Mbamu was already in school and doing well. His sister had just entered the camp's infant school, and the fourth child was on the way. All these children would need money for their education, for their food and clothing. Yes, he would give the job a try. After all, he had been given a new house, 2 rooms and a kitchen. It was really an old shed that had been renovated. When Elate started work in the morning shift, he was not very happy with the atmosphere around him. He sensed an air of suspicion and of not being wanted, which he did not like. At first, he thought it was because he was a stranger. But when the atmosphere continued for the whole week, he became very uneasy. Then an idea came to his mind. The next day, which was to be the last day of his morning shift, he brought with him to work a big calabash of mimbo and a bottle of afofo. These he gave to the foreman at the warehouse, saying, "Could you please share this small gift with the other workers? I came here in peace, and I want to remain peaceful with everyone here." The foreman gave the mimbo to the workers and kept the afofo for himself. And from that day, Elate was accepted warmly in the warehouse. And the workers there began to tell him a few of the secrets of the place. But he was to discover the worst secret himself. He was now in the afternoon shift. The official time for closing the warehouse for the day was 3 o'clock. A siren would blow and all the workers would gather their tools and leave the premises. And by 3:15, everybody would have gone. The watchman would shut the windows, the doors, and the main gate of the warehouse, leaving only a side door for his own use. On this particular day, Elate had gone through the usual routine. Then he sat down on a stool, enjoying the afternoon breeze. At about 5 p.m., he heard a noise in the warehouse, but took it to be a rat or something. Then he heard the noise again and thought he should look around and make quite sure that all was well. He tiptoed into the warehouse, going in carefully through the side door and listened. Sure enough, there were sounds coming from the garage section where the vehicles were kept. He hurried there and behold, one of the mechanics was busy with spanner removing the wheel of a jeep. "What are you doing here?" Elate asked him. "I thought everybody had gone home." "No, you see, I'm doing overtime," came the quick reply. "Oh no, you can't fool me. Whenever somebody is to remain here for overtime, I am told. Nobody told me about you. What are you really doing here?" "Why all these questions? Didn't he tell you?" "Did who tell me? Tell me what?" "Didn't Massa tell you? This job is for him." Massa was the foreman. Although his name was George, everybody in the warehouse called him Massa out of respect. "Massa told me nothing. Now leave this at once, and I shall report you tomorrow. You want me to lose my job, you thief, and a liar as well, to involve Massa George in this." Elate lost no time to report the incident to George, the foreman, the following morning. But surprisingly, George was not in the least shocked. "Ah, my friend Elate," he said, "don't you know business? Can you not make business? How much do they pay you a month?" 18 shillings and 6 pence, answered the bewildered Elate. What was all this about? "So, and how many children have you?" "Massa, I have 3 children and..." "Good. And any of them in school?" "Yes, 2. But what has all this to do with the report I came to give you?" "You fool, can't you see? You must make business to survive. The white man takes all the money while we do all the work. What is one small tire when they have so many? Next time, no, Massa. I am afraid of prison. I have never stolen before and I don't want any trouble." "Calm down. George produced his little snuff box and handed it to Elate to have a pinch. It was a beautiful round case. Elate had never seen one like it before. Actually, it had once been a pocket watch, but the watch had been removed and the empty case now served as a handy snuff box. Elate left the foreman feeling very worried. However, there were no further attempts to steal from the warehouse for a time. Then one night, when Elate was doing the night shift, he fell asleep at 9 p.m., but thought it too early to sleep. To fight off sleep, he decided to pace quietly round the warehouse. And as he came to the section where tools were kept, he saw a form of someone stooping. He stopped and looked hard. Then the figure moved a little and he saw that it was putting something in a sack. He also noticed that the window above the figure was open, but he was sure that the window was locked the last time he had been there. "Stand up, whoever is there, and don't run, or I'll shoot with my spear," shouted Elate, standing a safe distance away. With one great leap, the figure dashed to the open window, and before Elate could get there, it had vanished in the moonlit night. Sure enough, he had been stealing some tools. He had left in a hurry and without taking the sack in which he had gathered a good number of tools. Then Elate saw something gleaming on the floor near the window. He had heard something drop as the thief jumped away. He switched on his electric torch, and when he picked it up, he found that it was a beautiful, round, and shiny snuff box, which had once been a pocket watch. He could hardly believe his eyes. "You said you found this on the floor near the window?" "Yes, sir." "And you are sure it belongs to George?" "Yes, sir, I'm quite sure." "Okay, I'll keep it if you don't mind." Elate had reported this incident to the manager, Mr. White, bringing along the principal exhibit. Mr. White thanked him and told him to go back and mention the incident to no one. Meanwhile, George did not know exactly where he had dropped his snuff box. He bullied his wife at home and asked her to look for it. It must be somewhere in the room. A few days later, Mr. White called at the warehouse. George, next week is shipment week. Make sure that all the trucks are well serviced. The mechanics may work overtime if necessary. I'll want all drivers to report personally to you if there are any faults with their trucks." "Yes, sir." "Our diesel oil is running short, sir, and we need some more spanners and jacks, sir." "Good. Make a list of all you need and let me have it as soon as possible. By the way, George, have you lost anything lately?" "Oh, no, sir, only a snuff box. My wife must have misplaced it somewhere in the house." Mr. White reached into his pocket and produced the snuff box. "Would this be it?" "Wonderful, yes, sir." "Where did you find it, sir?" "Oh, somebody picked it up near the road and brought it to me. I must have dropped it accidentally. Thank you." "Thank you very much, sir." "Not at all." Mr. White now believed Elate's story, but he could not dismiss George because he was one of the best mechanics he had. Mr. White finally decided that he would have George transferred to a different section. The next day when Elate came to work, he noticed George took a pinch from his snuff box, and without thinking, he asked him whether his snuff box had been returned. "So Mr. White has given back your snuff box?" "Yes, how fortunate of me. Somebody picked it on the way and gave it to..." "Wait a minute. How do you know that I lost my snuff box? I told nobody here about it. And how do you know that Mr. White was the one who gave it back to me?" "But I thought you lost it." "Indeed. But who told you?" "Well, I thought," stammered Elate, and George could see the guilt building up on his face. Then it all flashed back to him. As he was jumping through the window that night, He had heard a click, but naturally thought it was one of the tools. It must have been his snuff box, and Elate must have picked it up. Oh, Elate must have reported the whole incident to the manager. That was why Mr. White had come to the warehouse yesterday. He usually gave his instructions through the chief clerk. Oh, what treachery. What's wrong, Massa? Elate had seen George's eyes grow bigger and bigger as these thoughts flashed through his mind. Oh, well, I have finally got my snuff box back, said George, and it does not really matter who brought it back. Let's forget about it. But inwardly, he was already building up his revenge. I shall teach him a lesson he will never forget, the devil. I shall set all conceivable traps for him. We shall see who is who. But before he could lay any traps or execute his vendetta, his transfer orders had come. Within a week, he was handing over to Thomas the new foreman. He was obviously very disappointed, but he made sure that before he left, the new foreman had Elate in his bad books. Beware of Elate, one of the night watchmen, he told Thomas. He is a sly thief. If ever you hear that anything is missing from the warehouse, it is he who has taken it. He steals at night and then comes during the day to report that thieves have broken in. He will be your only headache. The rest of the workers are hardworking and honest. Thus, from the onset, Thomas had a dislike for Elate. And that's where we end chapter 10. We'll continue chapter 11 right away. Stay tuned.